you one thing, if a little green man pops out of me, I'm shooting first and asking questions later.
You are on the verge of destroying the entire universe.
Welcome to the Strange Podcast with Sam and Logan.
If you enjoy the show, please go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you're listening, and please give us a good rating. If you want to share a story or have ideas for any future episodes, you're welcome to visit www.thestrangepodcast.com. We look forward to hearing from you. You're listening to The Strange Podcast, Episode 7. We interrupt this near-death experience for a subliminal message. I'm Logan Marks.
And I'm Sam Baxter. Today's November 19th, 2017.
Oh, man. It's getting close to Thanksgiving.
Yeah, I heard that that's this week. I didn't know that, but I was wondering why everyone from work was taking the week off. I'm like, what the fuck, you lazy motherfuckers? And
everybody was like...
Yeah, a lot of people were taking it off, and it's like...
You're like the only one there.
Yeah, they're like, fuck. I'm like, why the fuck you all taking it off? It's like, oh, wait a minute. If they take the week off, they're only using 3 days, right? So it makes sense that, you know, you only use 3 days and you get a whole week off. But I was the one who was the dumb fuck who didn't realize that it was, you know, it was a holiday. So
a holiday coming up.
Yeah, so kudos to them, and I'm a jackass for that, but, man. Are you ready for Thanksgiving?
I am ready. We're going to probably just hang out at my... They're all coming to my house.
Oh, they're all coming to your house?
Yeah, we're gonna make a big old turkey and see who shows up.
Nice. That should be fun.
Hopefully. That's my favorite, one of my favorite holidays.
Yeah, Thanksgiving's always been pretty good. It's always been pretty fun. It's always good food to eat, you know. The only thing that's bad for me is the stuffing. I can't stand that shit.
Oh god, I love stuffing. I buy like all kinds of it and I just eat it. Every day I'll eat stuffing for the whole rest of that week.
For cereal and with my cereal. pepper some stuffing over my cereal and put it in my medicine and everything.
Oh, you know what I got that's really good? There was I was at Walmart and they started to sell those tin popcorns.
The tin popcorns?
The 3 flavored ones.
Oh shit, I forgot about those. Damn, they still make those?
Oh, Dad, they make... Oh, man, I buy them every year. Like, they're the one thing that gave me diabetes. Because I just eat a shitload of it.
I'm sorry, Doc. I can't stop. I can't stop eating this. Fucking sugar and popcorn.
Man, I could just keep going with it because, like, you eat the salty stuff, and then, like, you're like, oh, and you can't get enough too much salt. You just go to the sweet stuff.
Wait. So remind everybody, what are the flavors in there? It's caramel?
It's caramel, and then white... I think it's white cheddar, and then butter.
God, that sounds horrible.
Oh
you eat all, isn't it? Wasn't it like a? No, I'm thinking there's kettle corn. No, there's no kettle corn, right?
It's like caramel covered. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Kettle corn's got like I think it's like saltier and it's better. I like kettle corn. Kettle corn to me, it's almost like cocaine. I can deal with kettle corn on my cereal. I can deal with kettle corn on all my stuff. I didn't know they're selling that already then, huh?
Yeah, but they're not as big as they used to be. They used to be, you know, remember they used to be like super, like
yeah, they were
huge.
Pretty good size. They could come up to your waist.
Now they're like half the size, but they're the same price.
But they're double the price. Yeah.
They're double the price.
Half the size, double the price.
Double the price for your pleasure.
You know, the shitty thing is we buy them. Well, you buy them, but people buy them.
I buy them, yeah, because they're still
tasty. So do you ever mix all the flavors in one bite?
No, I gotta go around the
circle. So what do you start out with? What's your first flavor?
I usually eat the butter one because I don't like that one, so I try to get rid of it first.
Butter one makes me sick, so I force myself to eat it first.
so then I get that, so I'm like getting it out of the way, and then when I get tired of it, I'll put the sweet and then go to the salty, and I just go.
Salty one would be good. I think that would be good.
Yeah, but I could probably eat one whole thing in like one sitting.
Are you serious? They must be that small then, huh?
Well, even the old ones I used to be able to eat one.
Oh, did you?
I would just sit there. Hell yeah! I would just eat the shit out of the thing.
Yeah, I mean, I from what I remember them being pretty good. But I mean, it's been so long since I've had that. I forgot they even made them. It has been so long, and I thought they outlawed those things. I thought the dog.
No, that's one thing. I wait every year. Like I go and as soon as I see them, man, I'll buy like 3 or 4.
Well, will you buy the whole pallet? You know, go there.
I would if it wouldn't kill me.
Yeah, I would if I could afford it. But well, how much for each one of those cans? What do you think they cost?
Like $5.
$5, goddamn.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money. $5.
Yeah,
you know, it'd be good.
They get me every time.
It'd be good to watch it like during movies.
Oh yeah, I'll just sit there and watch. Now that I have Netflix, you know, I'll just sit there and watch a whole season.
Yeah, watch a season of Rick and Morty with that.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Get Swifty.
Get swifty and eat popcorn.
I know that'd be pretty good. Speaking of movies, though, a show that I was watching that came on TV last week. It made me like at the time I remember watching it, and it wasn't that big of a deal. But now it's more of a big of a deal to me. It was. Do you remember the movie They Live with Roddy Piper?
Oh, I love that movie.
Remember that?
Like 15-minute fight scene.
Yeah, when they put the glasses on. The hell with you. Remember that? He wouldn't put them
I just
on.
watched that like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, he wouldn't put them on. Remember, he just
he
refused.
Yeah, like they do that whole fight scene back in that alleyway.
Yeah, in the alley they fought.
And you think it's like, oh, it's gonna be over, and they just keep
They
going.
kept going. Yeah. They finally gets kicked in the nuts. He gets punched in the face. Headbutted. He almost hits him with like a 2x4. Remember? It was like the only thing they didn't have was like a machine gun. But the whole fight was pretty good. Remember that?
Yeah, they body slammed each other.
Yeah,
like a DDT, I think.
Yeah, he did the side suplex.
Yeah, there's a suplex.
Side
yeah.
suplex is what Roddy gave to him, and that's what kind of did him in. He was all fucked up, man. It was good. It was good. But the whole movie was good, and I remember like watching it as a kid, and I remember thinking, this is a pretty cool concept. I never heard of this before. But then you think of it, nowadays, how all the secret transmissions were being broadcast. You remember that?
Yeah.
It was basically the UFOs. If anyone hasn't seen They Live, it's a movie from the 80s. It was pretty good, and it's you might feel dated now, but the concept's still pretty good. And basically, they come across a signal. There's a group that comes across a signal, and they find out that there's aliens on our planet, and they're broadcasting subliminal messages, basically making us like slaves to all of our things that we have, like money. If you look at it with these glasses, you can see what it really says on there. Subliminal message will say, "This is your God," right? Because people covet money, right?
Yeah.
I mean, money's not something people throw away. They'll fight and kill and die for money. So there were a lot of different subliminal messages, and at the end, what he had to do was basically try and turn off the satellite that was broadcasting the messages.
The signal.
Yeah, the signal to take it out. So I was like, man, that's pretty crazy, It's a signal that's under the signal that's being broadcast. And, it was made, to be subliminal so that in your mind, subconsciously, you would think these things. But, so I thought, man, there's got to be, I wonder if there's anything, obviously, if there's something like that going on. It hasn't been really broadcast yet. But there has been broadcasts of people, like, intruding on signals that are live and having their own agenda for them. So there's been a few of them that were that have happened over the years. So like the first one that probably a lot of people have heard of was the Max Headroom incident.
Oh, I remember that one.
Yeah, do you remember?
Yeah.
You know who Max Headroom was, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was that character in the 80s. He was portrayed by Matt Frewer, and he was supposed to be the first world's first computer-generated TV host. And he just kind of looked, and basically he was supposed to look like a computer, and he was always like kind of repeating himself like he was just a machine. And this is in the 80s, but it was basically a prosthetic makeup and hand-drawn backgrounds, and it looked cool. As a kid, it looked cool.
Wasn't he like a Pepsi sponsor or
No, he was opposite. He was Coke.
Was he Coke? Okay.
He was Coke. Back in '87 in Chicago, on WGN TV, there was like a sports report, and the guy was talking about the Chicago Bears, like they had won a game, and the screen went black for 15 seconds, and it showed a person wearing a Max Headroom mask. Mm-hmm. It was 15 seconds long only, and then it reverted back. So when it reverted back, the reporter was like, I don't know what that was. He was just kind of in shock. But
what the fuck was that?
Yeah, but it was on live TV, so he couldn't throw a fit. He just kind of had to laugh about it.
Yeah.
But it was during the live news, so the engineers were able to catch it and thwart the signal. And so later on, though, a sister channel had the same issue, and it was during a broadcast of Doctor Who, and it was the same hacker or hackers took over that channel, and this one lasted for a minute and a half. And
they were on like live television for
live
a minute
TV
and a
for a
half.
minute and a half.
Yeah, that's like forever in live TV
Yeah,
time.
it's a long time, right? I mean that doesn't sound like much, but when you're actually like, if somebody says just wait there for 1 minute, and you have to wait for 1 minute, it lasts a while.
Yeah.
And so this one, he had to, same thing. It came on, and the guy was basically the Max Headroom guy was like talking shit, and he was talking about some pundit there in in Chicago, calling him a freaking liberal. He was referring to Chuck Swirsky. And he was calling him like a freaking liberal, and he started to moan and laugh and making all these weird phrases. And Coke had the slogan of "Catch the Wave," and he held up a Pepsi can and said it. Instead, yeah. So
in your face, Coca-Cola.
Yeah, basically, yeah. He's like, "Fuck you," and so he had like a rubber finger wearing like an extension over his middle finger, and he was like, like kind of flipping off the screen and. He was like singing like "Your Love Is Fading," and he removed like the extension and began humming the theme song to some show called Clutch Cargo. And some of the audibles kind of hard to hear, so like it sounds like he says "I still see the X," and some people think it says "I stole CBS," so it's kind of unknown really what he said right there. He makes a comment like, "I made a giant masterpiece of all the greatest world newspaper nerds," and he's just basically like talking trash about WGN, and I, for some reason this guy's got it in for them, or something. Who knows? Maybe he just doesn't like what it's been saying. And so he holds up a gardening glove and he says, "My brother's wearing the other one." And after he puts the glove on, he continues saying, "But it's dirty. It looks like it's got blood prints on it." And he removes the glove and he throws it like in disgust. And then finally it cuts over. And it's showing like the helmet, the mask is off, and it's like it shows him bending over, and you can see his ass. Yeah, you can see his ass. They were like basically partly exposed, and the mask he's holding it as if it's it's off him and it's offside screen, like his face is still there, but his ass is bent over, and it says he's howling, "They're coming to get me," and there's some chick there. And she's wearing a costume, and she tells him like, "Bend over, bitch," and he's bent over, and she starts spanking him.
What costume is she wearing?
She's wearing a French maid outfit. Oh. Yeah, the bitch is wearing a French maid outfit, and she's saying, "Bend over, bitch," and she starts spanking him with the fly swatter, and he's screaming like, "Oh, do it." And then finally the transmission blacks out, and then again it goes back to Doctor Who. So again, that lasted for 90 seconds. And unfortunately, it was like late at night, so the engineers weren't able to stop it as quick as they were the first one. And so that's why it lasted so long. And by the time it ended, they didn't have any information like where it might have came from. They couldn't pinpoint it or anything. So they can get a trace or an establishment of where it came from. And so there's been no investigation of. There's been no leads on it since then. Since '87, nobody knows who did that. Who took over the transmission?
So they never caught
They never caught him.
Wow.
They never caught that guy or Peoples. I mean, like I said, the French maid could have been the mastermind behind it. Maybe she just wanted to slap some ass on WGN.
Were you able to see her face? Or
No. You could see her like up to her, like maybe her neck.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but you can see her body. And she's slapping him with the fly swatter. Yeah, man, this guy's into some shit, And like I said, maybe she's a mastermind, and maybe she just wanted to slap some ass on WGN.
And this was like in 89?
87.
87?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much like the stuff we watch now, though.
Yeah, no shit. I know, this is like normal.
That's like regular television now.
Yeah, I know. It's like no big deal. Yeah, you can see that like on SVU or whatever. Yeah, but back then, that was a little taboo. It was a bit much, probably.
That's like stuff you can watch on PBS now.
I know. So that one, they got away with that one. But there's been like a few other ones. I'm sorry, what were you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna ask you if there were any other ones because that's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, that one was hilarious, and I think that's what he was going for. And I think he wanted to let the people know that, hey, I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Yeah, they had control over television.
Yeah, I think so. And so one of the next one was this one was in England in 1977. And this was the Vrillion on Southern Television. So this one happened during a TV broadcast station, was interrupted for a total of 6 minutes from someone who claimed to be a representative of a quote-unquote intergalactic association.
Like aliens?
Yes, exactly. So the station was playing its regular evening news bulletin, and the host was reading the news, and suddenly his voice, the host name was Andrew Gardner, and his voice began to distort, and a buzzing deep voice began to speak. This is the voice of Brilliant, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command speaking to you. For many years you have seen us as lights in the skies. We speak to you now in peace and wisdom, as we have done to your brothers and sisters all over your planet Earth. We come to warn you of the destiny of your race and your world, so you may communicate to your fellow beings the course you must take to avoid the disaster which threatens your world and the beings of our worlds around you. This is in order that you may share in the Great Awakening as the planet passes into a new age of Aquarius. The new age can be a time of great peace and evolution for your race, but only if your rulers are made aware of the evil forces that can overshadow their judgments. Be still now and listen, for your chance may not come again. All your weapons of evil must be removed. The time for conflict is now past, and the race of which you are part of may proceed to the higher stages of its evolution if you show yourselves worthy to do this. You have but a short time to learn to live together in peace and goodwill. Small groups all over the planet are learning this and exist to pass on the light of the dawning new age to you all. You are free to accept or reject the teachings, but only those who learn to live in the peace will pass together in higher realms of spiritual evolution. Hear now the voice of Brilliant, a representative of the Ashtar Galactic Command speaking to you. And it basically goes on to tell you all the stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's a lot more, but it's, you can find this online.
Mm-hmm.
And he's basically telling you,
basically
shape up
to change our ways, because
shape up. You guys are fucking up.
So it's saying that we're destroying the Earth, or we're just messing up society.
It sounds like a little bit of both. Like in order to obtain a better, higher evolution or peace, you should probably stop fucking up your world and maybe learn to think for yourselves and to think consciously. That's kind of what I got from it. I mean, it's kind of the old, hey, stop ruining things.
Yeah.
Because pretty soon you'll get to a point of no return, and then nobody can help you.
So I'm assuming they didn't find out who did this?
No, this was another one that they don't know who did it. The English people were just unhappy about it. They were scared, right? Because this is in the late 70s. They had no idea what this was about.
Yeah.
Or who was behind it.
Yeah, you think since some time has gone by, and they're at a point maybe the person's at an age now where they can come out and say yeah, it was me.
Maybe, right?
Yeah.
I would think so, especially with Max Headroom one. I would think that they would be able to come out. I've thought about that too. Maybe they're not on their deathbeds yet. Maybe they're thinking, nah, because they could probably. I don't know if they could still be prosecuted. I don't know how it works in England. If it's been 40 years later, if they can prosecute.
Well, it's one guy that he claimed to fake the Bigfoot footage on his deathbed. Yeah,
that's right. But I mean, what are they gonna do to him? I mean, he was dying. He was dead, right? It's basically like George Bush Sr. He can grab all those women's asses and what are they gonna do to him? Right? He's 93 years old. He's in a wheelchair. He's had strokes. What are you gonna do to this guy?
Bitch, I used to be president.
Yeah, exactly. Give me
do what I want.
Yeah. I mean, he's touching all these asses. What are you gonna do to him? Right? Yeah. I mean, the women either have to just deal with it, and just. I mean, what do they expect? I mean, I'm not saying it's what he's doing is right, but all I'm saying is, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
Is he's some old guy in the wheelchair.
Yeah, he's 93. Are you gonna indict? What are you gonna be going for? I mean, besides money. I mean, you're not gonna get him to change, right? He's like, fuck you guys, 93. I've probably been a decent man for most of my life. Now I want to play with some ass. So now he's grabbing it. But get that blonde over here to take a picture with me.
I'm getting tired of Barbara.
Yeah,
Barbara's
I know.
not cutting it for me anymore.
Barbara's always around. I want some blonde. I want some brunette, some redhead. I want to test some ass. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what they can do about any of this stuff, especially now. And so here's another one. Let me tell you one that's a little funnier. And this guy, a couple guys did get caught.
Okay.
So this one in 2007, this was the Comcast pornography incident. so
is this the one that ran during the Simpsons episode?
No, this ran. This was on the Disney Channel on the Handy Manny.
Even better.
Yeah. So little kids were watching it, and all of a sudden, like one of the guys was telling, they interviewed. He's like, his dad's like, "What's going on? Or is she okay? Is she being hurt?" Because it was hardcore porn.
Mickey's hurting that lady.
Yeah, I know. I know. He's spanking her, but she doesn't seem to be mad. So yeah, there was actual hardcore porn on it took over the show, and Comcast didn't know what happened. It was like a glitch, and they apologized, and they said it was on their side and said, okay, we'll tighten down on all our servers and everything, make sure nothing like this happens again. Well, then 2 years later in 2009, this happened during Super Bowl 43 when and this time
and nobody was watching that.
Yeah, in Arizona was watching. This was in Tucson, so this was in Arizona. So everyone in Arizona is watching the Super Bowl because their team was in the Super Bowl. This is when they played Pittsburgh, and a more softcore porn came on for 37 seconds.
I think I do remember that one.
Yeah, and the FBI intervened, and they found that a former cable employee was responsible for interrupting the broadcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so Frank Tenori Gonzalez was allegedly tampering with the Comcast servers. And Comcast had to apologize to all the people and ended up giving 80,000 Tucson subscribers a $10 credit, which was $800,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the guy was arrested. He got arrested.
Did he ever say why he did it?
No, I think just to kind of to fuck around, like, hey, I could do this, and they said he was disgruntled.
Oh, okay.
Disgruntled about what? Who knows, right? Maybe they didn't give him a long enough lunch. Maybe they took away. Maybe in their cafeterias they took away the free milks. He's like, fuck this, I'm gonna get you back. I'll make you pay one way or another. Maybe they took away paydays from the vending machine. I don't know.
Oh man,
but he was ticked.
Paydays.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I hate those candies. I hate paydays. Those things should go away. Them and $100,000. God, I can't stand those.
I never had $100,000. I had paydays. I think paydays are pretty good.
I like the peanuts, but I don't like all that sugar in the inside.
Oh.
That stuff disgusts me.
Disgusting payday.
Yeah. So, and then there's one guy that I'm with. This guy I like. This was the Captain Midnight incident. So in '96, HBO was playing regular broadcastings, and at 12:32 a.m., a man named John R. McDougal, also known as Captain Midnight, he transmitted a signal on the satellite that HBO was carrying, and the message was a protest for the service rates going up, and it said, quote, "Good evening, HBO, from Captain Midnight, $12.95 a month? No way. Showtime, movie channel, beware," unquote. So basically he was pissed off that HBO was hiking the rates for their channel. He was an electrical engineer, and before the hijacking, he had successfully transmitted a color bar test pattern that had overridden HBO signal. So he had tested that he could take it over. And HBO didn't mind. It only lasted a few seconds, and it was overnight. So HBO thought it was like, whatever, big deal.
They're like a kind of a glitch.
Yeah, and he was like, that was his test saying, hey, I can do this. But a lot of people, like back then, they like Hughes Communication Company threatened to shut down the HBO satellite because they thought the hijacking was some kind of terrorist.
A terrorist, really?
Yeah, terrorist event. Yeah. So the FBI came in to investigate, and the FCC said the hijacker will face prosecutions. But the guy nowadays, he didn't regret what he did. He says, he wishes motivations were more understood, and he was hoping that people don't think it's a terrorist attack, and he ended up getting a fine.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, he ended up paying.
He didn't do jail time?
Not that I saw, no.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
well, I mean, he has a right to be mad.
I mean,
like remember when I get pissed off when Netflix bumps up.
They just did, man. Did you see that? Like a week and a half ago?
Or yeah. I know. Remember when they tried to do that thing where they're like, "Oh, we're gonna have like two companies."
Yeah.
One was gonna be like Quixer or whatever.
That was so stupid.
And then man, I was pissed. I'm not gonna get no DVDs.
That was so dumb. And that's when everybody was using DVDs. Remember? That was like in 07, 08.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people were pissed off with that. Like, fuck this. I'm not gonna pay for more, and I don't want to pay for two services. And that was back then when streaming wasn't that huge. But everyone was mad because both were together.
Yeah, and their lineup wasn't even that great on Netflix. I mean, they had some movies that were okay, but I mean, like you do the DVDs to get the actual good movies that you want to see.
But now it's the opposite, basically. But
I don't know.
But I mean, I only know one person. He gets DVD discs, and he still burns all the copies, every one he gets. I don't care to have that many discs in my home. So to me, that's not appealing. Mm-hmm. I like to stream. I prefer streaming. I don't want to have any physical. With music, I will, but with movies, I don't. I just don't. There's not a lot of movies, and plus you can find them on so many places to watch. You know, there's a lot of places where you can just stream shit. Fuck, you can go to YouTube and stream shows.
I don't watch half the movies on there.
What's that?
You can watch like most of the movies on there if you look hard enough.
Oh man, you could. Yeah, YouTube carries a lot of stuff. If you could just deal with their stupid ads. Those ads, man, those things just piss me off. It's like Hulu, paying without the Hulu full version. You know, you pay like for the $5.99 version or $7.99.
Yeah, I get that one without no.
Yeah,
ads.
you can't do it with ads, man. It's not worth it.
Yeah, I'd rather die than listen to ads.
I know. Every time with those damn ads, they just keep getting longer and longer.
Yeah, it's gonna kill us one day. You're gonna have a near-death experience.
Yep.
Well, like speaking of dying and near-death experiences.
Yeah.
I got some stories for us.
All right, what do you got?
Near-death experiences were always really interesting to me. Because it's like one of the big questions that we all have, you know. What happens to us after we die?
It's probably the biggest question, actually.
It's the one of the biggest ones we have. And religions all over the world, they tell us they have answers, you know, the secrets to get into the big nightclub in the sky.
Yep. Or to stay away from the one below.
Yeah. And a lot of us, you know, we base our beliefs on these religions, and we think that they're answers, and it's something that science really can't measure at this point. So I'm under the impression that we really don't know what happens. You know, we don't know what happens after we die. So, you know, but there's a lot of people who have died and come back.
Died and come back?
Yeah, they've, you know, like they're on operating tables or they were in car accidents and they've died.
Oh, I gotcha. Oh, I thought you meant they went zombie. And
started the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, they survived it and they came back and they were healed by a priest.
So they've come back and with these experiences, and maybe from that we can get answers or at least be entertained by what they're telling us.
All right, so what do you got?
I have one where it was a girl. Her name was Christine. She's 29. She was a kindergarten teacher. She was driving to work when all of a sudden she got into a car accident. And she was rushed to the hospital. She was in critical condition. And while on the operating table, the doctor saw that she was flatlining, and they went to like extreme measures to resuscitate her. So while all this action is happening, the experience that she had, it was a pleasurable one.
Pleasurable.
So after the accident, she said she was hovering over her body, and she was watching the doctors trying to revive her.
I've heard of that happening a lot.
Yeah, and even though she was watching herself die, she felt like this really overwhelming calm. Like it was just, she just felt relaxed.
Like a peace.
Yeah, just a peace. She started floating. She floats past the ceiling through the hospital ceiling, and she floats up into the sky. And she says she enters this dark tunnel with this bright light at the end of it. And when she got to the end, she woke up and she was in this like beautiful sunny field. Just everything was just gorgeous, perfect. She's walking around this grassy field and she's with her bare feet. And the grass felt like really soft and warm. So everywhere she stepped was this like really nice feeling.
Okay.
So she goes around and she tries to explore the area more. And as she's, you know, going through the field, seeing all these beautiful things, she comes across these two figures that are across the field, and they're both dressed in white.
Ooh.
And she hears them call out her name, or waving her to come over. And when she hears her name, she's overwhelmed with this feeling of happiness. She's just...
Was it like ex-family members or something?
Well, yeah, when she gets there, she recognizes them from pictures that she had seen growing up.
Gotcha. So relatives from the past.
Yeah, so her grandparents had died before she was born.
Oh.
So when she reaches them, you know, they welcome her with a big hug, and they excitedly they take her to this beautiful village, like the Smurf village, I guess. I don't know, perfect. And they introduced her to all these family members that she remembered them dying.
Oh, okay.
You know, they were old and dying when she last time she saw them, but when she saw them there, she still kind of recognized them, but they were young and they were all healthy and happy and all. Yeah, they were all in perfect health.
Interesting.
So yeah, so she was there,
and they all spoke with her.
Yeah, they all spoke with her. They all, you know, she was having a good time, and then, you know, some time goes and after that goes by, and then the kind of family reunion thing is over, And her grandparents, they take her aside and they tell her, it's not your time to go. You got to go back.
No.
And so she doesn't want to go, but they're like, you have to go back. You have something else to do before you can come and stay here. And she's like pretty upset. So, but she's understanding that she has to go back, and they wave her goodbye. And then she floats away, and she ends up waking up in the hospital bed. She tells everybody what happened, and they're just like, well, we don't know what.
You're just hallucinating.
Yeah, we don't know
your
what
brain,
it is, but
lacked oxygen. Whatever.
So a lot of people have that same experience, but there's also some experience that people have that are really scary.
Opposite.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it's a small fraction of people that have the scary one.
Really?
Yeah, usually most people have like the pleasant experiences. Every once in a while, there's like scary ones. There was this guy, his name was Howard, and he was 38 years old, and he was in the middle of being in an operation, and while in the operation, some complications began. And he died on the operating table. So when he woke up, he found himself standing in the hallway of the hospital. Mm-hmm. And he was all confused. And he tries to ask one of the nurses that was walking past him what was going on. And she wouldn't listen to him, And she's walking towards him, and she's like, hey, what's going on? Where am I? And she wouldn't say anything. And then she just ended up walking through him.
Ooh.
He starts to remember that he was on the operating table and that he had died.
Oh, so he knew he died.
Yeah. So at that point, he figured out that he had perished.
Okay.
And as soon as he came to that realization, down the hall, the elevator doors opened, and this thick mist started like kind of bellowing out of it, and it started going into the hallway, and it started like inching towards him. And in the mist, he could see like these bright red eyes.
Fuck that mist.
And the sound, yeah, and he can hear the sounds of screaming and tormented souls crying for help.
Oh shit.
So he's like, holy shit, what do I got? I gotta get out of here. So he starts running down the other way. He's, when you try to run, like when
you're not moving.
You try and run, you can't barely move very fast, and so you start going. He starts running in slow motion, like looking back, and the mist is just getting closer, and you can hear the sounds getting louder, and he's scared as hell. He makes it to the end of the hallway, and when he gets there, there's like no way to get out. He's basically cornered. So the mist keeps coming towards him, and finally it gets to him, and it engulfs him completely. Damn. So he's like, maybe the only way I can get out is I got to go back to the elevator, and maybe I can get out of the building somehow that way.
Sure.
So he's trying to go down the hallway, and he's feeling like the sides of the walls, trying to make his way back. Mm-hmm. And while he's trying to use the walls to guide himself, he can feel the walls getting super hot.
Oh no!
To the point like he could like barely touch it. It starts like burning his fingers. Shit. So he's like,
now he knows he's fucked.
Now he's getting panicked, and he's getting super panicked now. And all of a sudden he could feel some hands like grabbing at his legs and pulling him in different directions, and he can't see anything in front of him because it's all this dark mist. But he feels these hands pulling at him from left to right. And finally, they pull on him so hard that he falls to the ground. Mm. And he tries to get back up. But he could, when he does, he could feel things like, because he was on the floor, he could feel these things crawling on top of him. Mm-hmm. And there's like, they're all slimy to the touch, and he's trying to push him off. But the more he pushes him off, the more we crawl on him. Mm. Until he was laying completely flat on his back. And he can no longer move.
Damn.
Tries to get him off. He's looking around. He sees these things crawling around. There's like red eyes staring at him. These little dark figures just crawling all over him. And he starts yelling for help, and that's when the creatures, they start biting at his stomach.
Oh, that's great. Fucking.
And then he could feel him starting tearing. There's tearing like his flesh, and just ripping out his organs, and he's just like, it's like the worst pain he's ever felt in his life. Mm-hmm. And he's thinking, fuck, I'm in hell.
Yep.
Don't know what to do. He hears the people are screaming in the background, and all of them, he knows that the same thing's happening to them, that they're all being alive. He can hear it, like, because he's screaming the same way.
Yep.
And so, like, he's thinking, like, in his voice inside, like, what do I do? So he says, I'm going to start to pray. So he starts praying, and as soon as he starts uttering the word, the mist starts going away and starts...
like retreating?
Yeah, retreating back into the elevator door, and all the demons are going back with the mist. And all of a sudden, everything turns white. And then he wakes up, and he's in the hospital bed. And the doctors told him that he was dead for a couple minutes.
Damn, that's no good.
Through these stories, you can persuade people to believe that there's an afterlife, because people have experienced it. But like, there are some scientific explanations for why it happens.
Okay.
A common theme of near-death experiences, or like out-of-body experiences, or having floating above the bed and stuff. And doctors think this could be caused by damages in the temporal parietal junction, and it's a part of the brain that forms the perception of an individual's body. So like it kind of tells you where you are in space. In some scientific studies, the phenomenon can be recreated by stimulating that part of the brain, and it causes people to lose where they are in space.
Oh, I gotcha. So you don't know where you're at all.
When they stimulated it, they would get the same outer body experience. So yeah, so that part of the brain just kind of lets you know where your arms and your legs are at, and so when it's stimulated, it makes you feel as if though you're not where you're supposed to be in your body.
Oh wow! So that's why they think that when that happens, people don't know where they're at. But why are they seeing, like, why you missed? Why family members of people that they... Are you longing for something? Are you guilty?
Like with the scientific explanation for that, it's usually because of lack of oxygen to the brain.
Okay.
And lack of oxygen to the brain causes hallucinations, euphoria, and studies indicate that individuals who report having near-death experiences, like during cardiac arrests, have like really low levels of oxygen.
Sure. I was just gonna say, but I understand that, but why are people having the hallucinations that they do? Like, why is the second guy having the hallucinations about the fog and the demons versus the girl who saw her family? Do they have any idea, like, why that could be?
Usually what it is like during the high stress situation, your brain releases endorphins into your body, and it gives you like a sense of peace and calm. And with that, it's just like when you have dreams. I mean, you're going through this horrible experience, so your brain's gonna try to compensate for what's going on. It's like overloaded with all this information, and a lot of times, a lot of people, when you die, I mean, or when you have these situations, you start remembering things, like family members, things in your past, things that are important to you. Like a lot of people, when they have these experiences, like if you grew up a Christian, most people will see Jesus. If you grew up a Muslim and you're raised that way, what happens, most people will see Allah. Okay. Depending on how you're raised or your culture is usually how you're going to see your near-death experience or whatever. Like, you could have been, you can be an atheist, but still you grew up with a Christian background. And so when you die, you're still going back and you're thinking of all the stuff that you were told when you were a kid, and that stuff resonates in your mind.
But what if you, what if you never believed in anything like that? What if you were like from China and there's no religion at all?
Well, like I said, it just depends on your culture. Like other places, it just depends on the culture they have. They died. A lot of people have like experiences where they're just like floating through space, traveling through space and time and all this other stuff. Like they're not all the same. I mean, some of them have common themes where they see people that they've had died before, or they're in a heavenly place, or it's a beautiful place, but a lot of them, it just depends on the culture that you grew up with.
And also, like, I've also heard that, like, I don't know how this makes any sense, but dying's like the first step to a new life. Again, I don't know why. Like you said, is there more out there for you to learn? Like you said, some people are flying through space, and
I don't know. That's the answer that people are trying to figure out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I don't know, but there's a story. I have another story from Plato. Okay. He wrote one, and it kind of has that thing where theme where you just keep going and you keep learning new things, or you do different things. So one of Plato's earliest tales is a story called The Myth of and it's about a man named He dies in battle, and after 2 days he's revived at his funeral. And he gets up and he's like, oh my god, and he tells everybody the story of his afterlife. What he tells them is comes across this amazing place with all these other souls. So like he appears at this place, there's all these other souls with him, and the place has 4 openings, like 4 portals, 2 that lead into and out of the sky, and 2 that lead into and out of the ground. And at each of these openings there's a judge, and the judge directs the souls where to go. When approaches one of the judges, he's told that you're just here to observe, and because he's going to come back to life, and they want him to go tell mankind about what happens in the afterlife.
Oh, okay. So he has a mission.
Yeah, so he has a mission. So he's just there to watch people do what happens after you die. So he talks to souls coming out of the sky and exit, and they recount like wonderful experiences and a feeling of bliss, and they're returning, and the people returning from the underground portals, they're all dirty and they're tired and they're crying in despair, and they had awful experiences. And he's told that by some of them that there's people down there that are so bad that they're not able to come out from the underground.
Oh shit!
People like murderers and child molesters, stuff like people like that. After weeks of hanging out in that area in the meadows, and the rest of the souls travel on for on a 4-day trek, where they reach a place called the Spindle of Necessity. There, all the souls except for are organized in rows, and each of them are given like a lottery token.
What's this token for?
It's basically like once they call your number, you're up next, and then they
I gotcha.
Yeah. And so each of the souls would come up to the judge when their token's called, and they would be asked to choose his or her next life.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so noticed that most of the souls would pick a life totally different from their last life.
Okay.
So if somebody was a good person, he would choose to be like a total garbage person, like a piece of shit,
What?
He said it says that there was one guy who came from the sky portal. He came from the good, having the good experience, and he chose to be a powerful dictator.
Shit.
Who would commit like horrible atrocities.
Fucking Hitler?
He was going to be kind of like a Hitler, but he was so bad, like he was going to eat his own children.
Damn.
That was like his destiny. So they basically knew everything that was going to happen in their life. But some people that came out of the sky portals, they would choose that.
Interesting.
But see, when you come back, when you come back, he would be so awful that he would actually come back through the underground one and have all this miserable experience coming back. He said that after everyone picked their new lives, they would pass under the throne of Lady Necessity, and they would travel to this place called the Plain of Oblivion, where the river Lethe, or the River of Forgetfulness, is what they would call it. And each soul would be required to drink from it.
No shit.
So, and what it is, it causes them to forget everything that happened, and it would put them to sleep, where they would lift up in the middle of the night, and then be sent to their location of rebirth, and they would start over.
No, okay.
And then that's when woke up and then told the story.
Interesting. So the ones you said that were like down there, they were like the murderous and the real bad people. They're never able to come out then?
I guess so. That's what they were saying, that some people had done things that were so bad.
So the ones who were good and they came out of the sky one and they went to the bad, would they now be in that category?
I guess that's what I didn't understand too, because a lot of it was like, well, if you chose to be such a piece of shit,
then you're never coming out.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand. I mean, I guess kind of human nature is to try things you haven't had, right?
I think it's maybe just to like
experience.
I think the whole purpose is maybe just to experience different things, because when you're at that point, that you're going to be going through the cycle again.
Yeah, but it's just like but the thing is, you also know that choosing to be a piece of shit like that, you're going to be fucking doomed down in the fucking mole man. You'd be down under the ground forever, right?
I guess maybe that's what he wanted to experience.
Interesting. So was there any that was Plato that shared that?
That's one of the stories that he wrote.
Huh.
It's one of the earliest near-death experience tales.
Yeah, it's weird because a lot of the times they always talk about saying a prayer, like one of your stories did, where the guy was being tortured or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And usually saying a prayer will get you out of that. I wonder how that ties into what Plato's guy saw.
I don't know. Well, like I said, it also depends
on what you believe.
Like there's been people I've read stories where there was atheists that had near-death experience and they came back Christians. I've read stories where people were Christians and they didn't see jack shit, and so they came back atheists.
Oh wow!
Every individual person has like different experience, but they usually have a common experience as well. Like there's things that are common, but there's also a lot of things that are very different. So like a lot of them will experience the narrow tunnel with the light at the end of it.
Yeah,
they'll experience the out of body feeling. They'll just have different hallucinations. But a lot of things, like I said, a lot of those things can be explained by just because it is your brain dying, and this is a time that your brain is probably the least reliable source of information, because it's basically dying. No oxygen, it's being suffocated. So it's going to do everything in its power to make you not feel what's going on.
And I do know that, like, a lot of people who don't believe in all this, who call everyone who goes to these basically hacks, you know, that
Mm-hmm.
that debunk. They always say that that's the reasoning for this, is because your brain is not reliable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you can't count on it to give you any truths. So I understand, you know, where debunkers come from and what they think.
Mm-hmm.
But also, again, it just seems like nothing for them ever is legitimate.
Well, like it's like for science, it's not something that can be easily
You
measured.
can't. You can't.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
then again, if you were to see that yourself, you know, it might change. Like you said, some people, it changes their ways so drastically, right?
yeah, I mean, there's been, like I said, there's been a doctor that died, and he came back believing it was like, you know, he wasn't a spiritual person before, but he was when he came back.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And you could be somebody religious and say, see, that was God's plan. That's all you got to say, and you can't dispute it, right? But then again, the people who go to the hell, then that's also pretty bad too. I've heard of stuff like that too, where some people, an episode was Unsolved Mysteries, and there was a guy that same thing. He was like a shitty guy, I guess, and he had to do some surgery, and he had a family, but he was not very kind to them. He was just like a jerk, and same thing kind of. He wakes up and he gets up and it's all dark. And he's in his bed, and he's like asking people walking by in the hallway, and he's asking them, hey, what's going on? Can I get some help? Something, you know. He's just kind of a jerk. And he goes out in the hallway, and there's a bunch of people walking through the hallway, like all going one way. And he kind of gets caught up in them. They're kind of like pushing him along too. He's like, hey, you know. What's going on? Where are you all going? And pretty soon everyone there started like, they were ignoring him, and all of a sudden they started like getting violent with him and started like pushing him and kicking him, and he was trying to fight them off and he couldn't, and then then all of a sudden like it turned to just complete darkness all around him, and they tossed him on the ground and they were like punching him, beating him, and then like same thing, you know, they started, you know, ripping at his stomach, you know, ripping at his body, and he was like, it was pure utter pain and torture. And eventually he was like, God help me, you know. And he was like an atheist and all that stuff, and he was like, God please help me. And all of a sudden, like, I guess like something from like the sky, a light came down, and when it came down, all the creatures that were around him tearing him up fled, you know, like in fear. And this like, it was like a ball of light, and it enveloped him and it carried him off. And he was like basically sitting in there with an angel, is what he said. So basically, what at the end of the whole tale was that he came back as a religious guy. He came back. He changed his life. He was no longer an asshole or a jerk to people. I mean, he became a preacher, and so like you said, I mean, this could have like a really, you know, monumentous, you know, effect on your life, you know, what you think. Like you said, can you imagine being somebody totally religious and then you come back with nothing, and so then you're like, fuck this, you know? I mean, that's not what you were raised to think, you know, that's not what you grew up with.
Yeah, but like I said, like a lot of times he might have grown up with those ideas in his head as a kid, you know, and he became an atheist later down the line.
No, I'm just,
and like those things are still in his mind. And so, like, when he does die, he's, like, thinking, oh, man, maybe there's a hell, or maybe there's that.
Yeah, no, I get that. What I'm saying is that I'm just saying, can you imagine you being somebody who's really religious now, and then that happens, and you see nothing?
Yeah, and then you'd be like, I mean...
And it changes your mind. It's like, fuck, I'm wasting
my time. What would be really awful is, like, you were actually, like, a decent person, and you know, did everything, and you believed in... You believed in God or whatever so much, and then all of a sudden you have this like horrible experience where like you're in hell. It's like, well,
what's the point?
So, like, what's the point? Like,
I can't do anything right. Yeah, my ticket's already punched. I might as well just go start, you know, drinking and driving, and you know.
It's like, I don't know how good you want me to be. You know.
Yeah, I can't be good enough. I know, right? That's what I'm saying. That would be tough. And again, you can't disprove or prove anything, right? All we got is people's tales. There's no... Remember that movie Flatliners? Did you ever watch that one?
Yeah, that was a long time ago. Did they remake that one?
Yeah, I saw... They remade it. I never saw the new one.
I never did either. But I kind of remember the old one because it's been a long time.
Yeah, me too. I saw when it came out. And I remember that one was pretty interesting, you know, as a kid. Like, oh, man, they're tempting, you know, fate. You know, they're killing themselves and bringing themselves and, you know, documenting what they saw, what they did. I don't remember it too well, but that should be a movie I should watch again. That seems... I kind of, you know, I want to see what they went through, because seeing it so young, I know a lot of it I didn't understand. and I would like to see what my take on it would be this time.
There's a couple books that I heard were pretty good.
Who wants to read it? That.
It's 2017.
You know, is there a movie version for these books?
But
what are the books?
But there's a bunch of books with like the evidence for afterlife, the science of a near-death experience.
There's a lot of religious ones like that too. A lot of afterlife, heaven and stuff.
Yeah.
You know which one's which.
I just figure it's like if you're a decent person to everybody, and you'll be taken care of after you die. So.
Well, you'd hope so, unless like those people who are, like you said, are pretty religious and try and do the right thing, and then all of a sudden they see fucking hell and the devil there. That's not too encouraging, isn't it? Man, I've been doing good. Remember Sopranos? You remember Paulie Walnuts?
Paulie Walnuts?
Remember Paulie? Remember he had the white hair?
Oh, yeah.
He got pissed off at the preacher because he like did something. He told the preacher, I killed someone. Like, oh, Paulie, you're gonna go to hell. He's like, what the fuck? Because
he put a lot of money in.
I've been putting a lot of money in this church. What happened when there was a tab on these tapestries that didn't be fixed? I fucking picked up the tab. You get me in, goddammit. Maybe he's all pissed off.
I'm supposed to be protected.
Yeah, he thought like paid all this money for the church and renovating it. That was his fucking end.
I know.
He was all pissed off.
Man, if only it was that easy.
He was pissed. I remember Wally was pissed. He was like, you fucking make it happen, goddammit. He was all pissed off the preacher. And I should be able to get a pass on all this shit.
Oh man, I do remember that episode. Funny. That was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was like one of the first seasons, and I remember Paulie was just pissed off. He was mad.
I know. People think about it. I mean, he was like in his mind, like he was gonna make it into heaven because he had bought all that shit.
Oh yeah, he was paying the churches, all their bills. He was picking up the tab and stuff, and so he was like,
well, that's the way the old Catholic Church used to be, from what I remember. It's like they would, all these rich people would pay their way into heaven.
Oh, basically buying their way in.
Yeah,
that's really interesting because then when something bad happens, they're just they go 180. Right, when something like say you're buying into that, and they're supposed to be protected, mm-hmm. right? And then all of a sudden something bad happens in your life, then you're like, fuck this. Yeah. Like a family member dies or something, and you're like, hey, we're supposed to be protected. I was paying for all this shit. And that can also lose faith too, I bet.
Yeah.
Right? I'm sure some people could be like, fuck this. This is a waste of time. I put all this invested in like Paulie Walnuts.
Paulie Walnuts.
Paulie Walnuts was pissed, man. I feel like that's one of the greatest mysteries right now is what happens after death.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to be able to actually do some studies, but it's kind of hard to find people that are dying and
yeah,
and actually be able to hook them up or
kill them,
conduct a serious experience, do some flatline.
What do you think, man? There's got to be some unsanctioned things going on, right? You think that there's got to be some groups out there that have probably dabbled in that?
Well, maybe, but who knows?
Why not, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a lot of shit that's illegal, that's unethical that if people have done, right? So why not this? Maybe somebody does have the answer.
Maybe they do, but we won't have it right now because we gotta go.
We gotta go.
Closing time.
Yeah.
You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.
Yeah. Get the hell out. You can't sleep on my couch. Well, thanks everybody for listening to another episode. I hope you guys found it enlightening or cool or boring or fun, or whatever the fuck you thought. We're glad you're here with us.
Yeah, thanks for listening. So have a good morning, good evening, or night. We'll see you next week. Until then, stay strange.
Bye-bye, people.
If you enjoyed the show, please go to iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, or wherever you're listening, and please give us a good rating. If you want to share a story or have ideas for any future episodes, you're welcome to visit www.thestrangepodcast.com. We look forward to hearing from you.